What's up, guys? It's your boy Austin Rutherford, and man, I've flipped hundreds of houses, and have I learned a lot. This video explains the 7 mistakes that you need to avoid when flipping houses. It's not all sunshine and roses like the TV shows tell you it is. I'm gonna show you what to avoid so you can go out and get this money. And I'm gonna show you some of my horror stories. If you could hit that like button, that subscribe button, and drop a comment, that'd be greatly appreciated. Let's get it. The first thing I wish I would've known is flipping houses sucks and you're gonna lose all your money doing it. Nah, just kidding. But I bet that's what some of the people in your circle are telling you. Some of your friends, maybe even some of your family are saying, you know, it's not possible, you need too much money, that ain't it. That's not real, and don't listen to them. So for real, number 1, you need a detailed scope of work. Please don't mess this up. This is the most important part, because if you get this wrong, everything else is gonna pile up and it's gonna be worse from here. So very extremely detailed scope of work. You have to plan this top to bottom. If you leave it up to the contractors, I promise you they're gonna screw it up. I wrote in the scope one time, paint gray. Came back tan. They're like, well, that looks gray to me. I said frame a closet. The closet was crooked and not even full ceiling height. Add a bathroom. The layout was absolutely horrendous. Okay, those bathrooms weren't mine, but you get the point. If you leave it up to the contractor, they're gonna screw things up. Take the time on the front end to develop a very, very well thought out, thorough scope of work. Go to the store if you have to, pick out the SKU numbers if you have to, do what you need to do on the front end to make sure it's detailed so you don't run into any issues on the back end. Second thing I wish I would have known is dealing with contractors. This gets easier if you have a very detailed scope of work. The first house I ever flipped, I had a fence contractor come out and I paid him half down for the entire fencing job on the project. The fencing job was like $5,000. So I gave him $2,500 up front and the dude disappeared. I never heard from him again. And actually I was driving up to go shopping one day and he was in the left turn lane and I was in the straight lane and we pulled up right next to each other. And I looked over at him and he looked over at me. And as soon as that light turned green, he burned out of there so fast. But the lesson here is that you don't pay contractors up front. They all want paid before they're done. You know, they might just run off with the money like that he did, or they might get middle of the job and be like, oh no, you know, I need more money. You know, I ran out of time. It's taking longer. It costs too much in paint. You know, I need you to front me the rest of the money. Don't do that. Stick to your terms, stick to your payment schedule, and don't pay them until the work is actually completed. And then something with the contractors too, you want to try to include their labor and their material on the scope. Because what I've done in the past is I've had them do the labor and I've had me pay the material. And then we get to the end of the project and I realized I spent way more money than I thought I was going to on material, and then my budget went through the roof. So if you can negotiate a budget with labor and material on the contractor from the very, very beginning, you know exactly what your budget is going into this. And once you find a good team of contractors, make sure you keep them. Don't penny pinch, don't complain about every little thing, because if you have a good team of contractors, your life is way more easier. Number 3 is the budget versus the product. The cheapest contractors are not always the best, and the most expensive contractors are not always the best either. So there's like 3 different types of contractors or general contractors. One is the one-man show, the one guy that does everything and he takes forever to do those things. The other way is a full-blown general contracting company, and they've got work vans and they've got marketing and they've got billboards all over the city. Those guys are gonna be way too expensive. What you want is a GC crew that has like 2 to 6 people that they're on the job site every day. They can handle, you know, 1, 2, maybe 3 projects at a time. That's kind of the sweet spot. That's where you want to be, because they're on the job, they're managing it, they understand it, they're following the budget, and usually they can hit their timelines. Decent prices, not the cheapest by any means, but it's good work, it's on time, and it's on budget. That's where you want to be. Listen, I've gone the cheap route. You know, I've hired the least expensive people you can hire, and I was the one stuck running back and forth to Lowe's 5 times a day, picking up material that they forgot to get and dropping off material because they don't buy the material, and managing them and then having them not show up, and that timeline's getting thrown all out of whack. You don't want to go down the super cheap route. It's not the best way of doing this. So like I said, I usually go a little bit more expensive. I don't go to the number 1 person in the city. I go somewhere in the middle. So I hired a contractor. He had a team, he had employees. It was good, it was cranking. He did 3 houses for me, built 3 new construction houses for me all at the same time. It was kind of out of sight, out of mind for me. You know, I didn't have to go and micromanage. I didn't have to go and you talk to the framer to square the corner off correctly. I didn't have to do those things. They managed all of it. I paid a little bit more money, and on those 3 houses, I made $110,000 a piece. And not having to micromanage allowed me to go out and find more houses to make more money. Number 4 is screwing up on the numbers. Everybody tends to do this at times. There's a lot of numbers you need to know. You need to know the after repaired value, the renovation budget, your maximum allowable offer, the timeline that it's going to take you to renovate and sell a property. Everyone screws these things up. So the first thing is overestimating your after repaired value. They want to force a deal to work even when the numbers don't work. They're like, oh, you know, I'm not going to sell this for $300. I'm gonna sell it for $320, and it might only be a $290,000 house in the first place. Then they try and sell it and it doesn't sell, and you hold your carry costs, burn the deal up, and you end up breaking even or possibly even losing money. Stick to your numbers. Put the numbers on a spreadsheet, stick to the numbers, and don't deviate from that. And then the other number that they screw up is the renovation budget. I don't think to date I've been on budget on a project. I've always blown my budgets, and I've done millions of dollars of renovation work. So do not underestimate your renovation budget, because you're probably going to end up blowing it in the first place. For an example, we did a house in Columbus. We were going to renovate it. We was planning on putting about $150,000 into the project. And then we demoed the interior of the house, and we realized that the house was actually literally sliding off the foundation, and it was crooked. We planned on putting $150,000 into that house. It didn't end like that. We put way more than that into the house because we had to tear off the addition. We had to rebuild the foundation walls. I had to jack the entire house up. It was one of the biggest undertakings we've ever had to do to date, and we only ended up making like $3,000 on that deal. Another one we were doing in Columbus, I thought this was a home run deal. I thought we were going to make 6 figures on it, easy. So, you know, we bought this one for I think 20 or 30 grand. We'll have about $150,000 to $160,000 in the construction on it, and I think it'll be worth about close to $300,000 on the back end. So this is a great one. Definitely looking forward to it. But what happened was, it ended up taking us over 1.5 years to buy, renovate, and sell this property. And it should have taken us 6 to 8 months. The planned budget was $150,000 for this deal. And we actually ended up spending $230,000 for this deal. Yes, I actually did just say $230,000, $80,000 over budget. It was terrible. And there was 2 reasons. I underestimated the renovation budget. I was probably a little bit low on it in the first place. And number 2 was the contractor had absolutely no clue what they were doing. So it just kind of piled on top of each other. We blew the budget like crazy. And we actually sold this house for $325,000, $25,000 more than I thought we were going to sell it for. And guess how much we made? $7,000. 1.5 years of work. Thought we were going to make $100,000 plus. We sold it for $25,000 more than we were planning on, and I made $7,000. But that's why you got to buy it right, because I didn't lose money. I just made less money. The 5th thing I wish I would have known is the additional costs that come along with flipping houses that most people are unaware of. These are things that'll get you. They don't show you these numbers on the TV. For example, that property we just went over, we bought it for $20,000. We put $230,000 into it, and we sold it for $325,000, meaning that there was a $75,000 profit margin. But what people don't realize are things called holding costs. Holding costs will eat you alive. Utilities, insurance, interest to your lender. And then when you sell the house, you got realtor fees, 5-6% in that. You got closing costs, 1-3% in that. All of those things together tend to add up over a deal. That's $75,000 margin. Since it took us 1.5 years of all those costs adding up, we only kept $7,000 of it. So we blew $68,000 in holding costs. So another important number to know is the time that you're going to buy, renovate, and sell the property. So if you plan to buy and renovate it in 30 days, add 1 or 2 months to selling it. If you plan to buy, renovate in 3 months, then add 3 months and another 2 months to sell it. You got to estimate the time that it's going to take you to sell this property as well. And then number 6 is taxes. Now you made all this money, you learned all these things from me, so you're not losing on all these deals. But guess what? Uncle Sam's coming for you. Uncle Sam always gets his. There ain't no running from Uncle Sam. When you're rehabbing houses, you pay a premium in taxes, especially if you hold the house for less than 12 months, you pay an even higher rate of taxes. Depending on your tax bracket, you're probably gonna end up paying about 35% of all of your profit in taxes. You make 100 grand, you pay $35,000 in taxes, roughly, depending on your tax bracket. I don't know about you, but I like to keep my money. I don't like to just give it out to people all the time. I want to keep as much of my money as possible. Yes, this is obviously a cost of doing business, but what if I were to tell you there was a way to keep more of that money and not pay as much taxes? Which leads me into my next point. Number 7, which is cash flow and the hustle. When you're flipping houses, you're always chasing that next bag. You're always chasing that next deal. You might have a phenomenal month where all your deals hit and make $200,000. And then you might have 1 or 2 or 3 months in a row where you make $0. That's the struggle with flipping houses. It feels like you're on a roller coaster. It's unpredictable. One thing I wish I would have done is I would have kept more of the properties that I flipped as rental properties. You got to make sure it cash flows, obviously. You got to make sure it's a good investment. So if it's like super high-end house, it probably doesn't make sense as a rental, sell those things. But multifamilies and entry-grade rental properties, I wish I would have kept them because those can start piling up. You know, one isn't going to change your life. 5, 10, 20, 50, 100, as you continue to grow this thing, that's going to change your life forever because you make money every single month. You're not out there hustling for the next deal. You have rental properties that pay you every single month. I got friends that make multiple 6 figures and multiple 7 figures per month of passive income, of money coming in every single month from rental properties. Don't get me wrong here. If you do that option, the money today is impacted a lot because you're not flipping and generating a boatload of cash. It's a long-term play here. But doesn't everyone preach sacrifice now for the future? You will make a little less money today because you won't be flipping for the profit, but you'll get all that money back in the future. And then one of the biggest things when you own rental properties is you get insane write-offs. You can hide a lot of your income from depreciation and other things where you don't have to pay taxes on the income that you make elsewhere a lot of times. It can be a win-win at the end of the day. So these are the lessons that I've learned while I've been flipping houses for the last 5 years. A lot of hard lessons learned, but a lot of things that I'm grateful for because it's going to set me up for the future now. In my opinion, don't make the same mistakes that I've made. You know, keep some of those properties as rental properties. I talked to a lot of friends now and everybody's saying the same thing. I wish I would have kept more rental properties. So you got to balance it out. You know, flip some, generate cash now, and then keep some as rental properties for the future. Because I promise you, those rental properties are going to pay off for you 100 times over down the line. I hope you enjoyed this. If you did, please hit that like button. YouTube loves the algorithm of likes. Make sure you hit that subscribe button if you want some more content like this. Drop a comment below. I would love to connect with you. And I've actually made a video on exactly how you can live for free, 100% for free, no gimmicks, basically off of rental property. So check that video right here. Until next time.